everything I did was around looking at the impact of technology on children, on the way they learn, on their opportunities. I've written, I think, 12 or 13 books on this topic, some of them activity books for children in schools. And this has brought me to where I am today, working very much on digital citizenship. I sit on the Trust and Security Council of Twitter. I sit on Facebook's Safety Advisory Board, which is an international body. And this links into digital citizenship. I do spend more than half of my time working on different projects with the Council of Europe in other countries. I've done a lot of work in Morocco, different parts of Africa, but also trying to understand this concept. How can we be citizens online, responsible online? I have a dream. Okay, someone else said that. My dream is building on an idea that a philosopher way back in the 50s, 60s was talking about, and it was Ivan Illich. And he said that kids should be learning through learning webs. And in fact, what we should be doing, regardless of the age, why do we group kids at age 6 or 7 or 8? Society is not like that. So kids of any age should be able to come together and work on a topic that really interests them. For example, artificial intelligence. It interests a lot of kids. Okay, let's set up a learning web where they have access to world experts. They can learn from the best. They can learn with other age groups so that we stop putting children into boxes. They can learn with other nationalities. And for me, this is the way that learning should be. We've got the tools to do it. Let's go out and do it.
It's curious because when you say nowadays artificial intelligence, algorithms, algebra, some people thinks, oh, I already did my career, I already made it my career so far. People from 30 years old probably say, oh, this is not for me because maths have never been for me.
If we don't understand the algorithms, we are nothing more than mechanical dolls, and our plugs and our switches are being pulled by industry. And this is really not what we want. We don't want to be victims of advertising. We don't want to be victims of people who are choosing the information or the disinformation or misinformation that I'm getting.
If I'm searching for one topic one time, and then I search again for that topic one time, then obviously the algorithm and the recommendation system usually will push me into more and more and more of this because they learn that we like it, or that's what we are searching for, and we engage with it. So how, obviously that is beneficial if you're looking for something specific, but then where's diversity? Because then you're not looking at anything else than that. How could we as users influence so that the diversity is not lost in a way?
Well, cookies are very important, and the GDPR does have a lot of advantages, but unfortunately you cannot even go and look for a cooking recipe without having to accept cookies. But you can empty cookies out. Keep emptying your cookies out. Make sure that you keep your own computer clean. I would say that that's the first thing. The second thing, actually make sure that you look for diversity when you're online. I'm in a lucky situation where, and I'm sure you are too, where I can look in a couple of languages. And this really helps me keep my diversity. Also know that the first is not the best. You look up something online and you're going to be fed the first 5 or 6, which in fact are shaped by the algorithm. turn to page 2. See what you get on page 2. That I think is the way. Not let yourself be pushed by this. Also be very careful. Nowadays, ads have to be indicated as ads, but don't fall into the trap of just clicking on the first you see and clicking on the ad. So I think they would be maybe my 3 recommendations. Keep your cookies clean. Get rid of them. We don't want them. It adds weight. Also online. Secondly, make sure that you are quite diverse on what you're looking for. And then thirdly, remember the first is not very often the best.
Thank you. Those are really simple, but have a lot of content in. Of course, going to the second page for the digital citizens might be now, oh my God, but it's already there. Why I not just click on the first thing that comes up, right? It's like, it's easy. So it's like not making it easy for us. And probably that is a responsibility, right? That comes with our citizenship and our rights as well.
I think if we go back to really what it means to be a citizen, that not only do we have a right, but we also have a responsibility, because nothing is free in this life. And so if we're using the internet, someone is gaining somewhere. Think about who might be gaining. You always have to think about who's on the other side and who's gaining.
Children and adults alike need to learn about how technology impacts their lives, and this for me is a really interesting topic. So please share with us, what are you up to?
About 7 years ago, the Council of Europe started studying what do we need, what are the competencies for democratic citizenship, not online or offline, just democratic citizenship. So digital citizenship, we then worked very hard to understand how and where do we apply it. When I say we, it's the working group, so 5, 6 other people plus the team at the Council of Europe.
We know Europe and the institutions are doing stuff, are regulating things, are talking in the big boardrooms, and then probably the next thing is what can we do? What would be your advice for all of us that are not in your sphere of action? How do we help in this regard, in the digital citizenship?
Parents can do many things. For example, when a child is young, 3, 4 years, I know nowadays that they're already online, but make it a learning experience. Don't let our children sit there and absorb these cartoons, which in fact are based on other values and not your own values. Check out the cartoon beforehand. Give the kid 2 questions that they should find in the cartoon. After the cartoon, which shouldn't be any longer than, say, 7 or 8 minutes. Talk to them about what they discovered. You may be very surprised that they're learning values that you really don't want them to have. We're mixing our kids up. We're not really giving them our home values. And if we're mixing our kids up and not giving them firm values that they can build on, how are they going to be able to interact at the European level with, or the world level, with people who they don't know face to face? Grooming is a result, I think. We hear a lot about grooming, and in fact, parents don't realize it, but grooming has got very much worse with the coronavirus because the parents aren't sharing the online activities. They're not giving the kids the tips that will help them understand that maybe they're communicating with someone who's much older than them, who doesn't have the same sort of language as them. So these are things that parents can do in the home. Digital citizenship is also about building empathy and trying to make us realize that when we're speaking and communicating online, because we can't see that other person, we have to double, triple our level of empathy.
We all pass through phases in our lives, right, that in which we grow. Which have been your phases so far?
So my first phase was in Australia, very much built around sport, around fun. It was also built around learning. I love learning, and that actually pushed me to be a little different than other people. It wasn't accepted. They used to call me the intellectual. This was also where I began my career in primary school education, where I had my family. And Australia, I think, is one of the most wonderful countries in the world to bring up children. Then Europe. I began as a school teacher, but very quickly realized that things just weren't the way I would like to see them in France. People didn't try to speak English. They had wonderful ideas, but they didn't try to push these ideas abroad. Their scientists went to conferences and suddenly they were stuck for words, didn't know how to present their brilliant ideas, which led me to create my own company in vocational learning with a very broad clientele, from the Pasteur Institute, which I think is known worldwide, to the government research organization, where I help researchers do exactly what I just told you about, but also the film industry. RCA Records, for example, were one of my big clients. And so it was also very much in the show business. And I think that really shows who I am. On the one hand, I love the fun, and the show business was fun when you're 30 or 40, but also this intellectual side of me driven to keep learning. And that's when I studied law and began lecturing. And I found that it was just so interesting to look at this emerging technology in the 90s and the way it was impacting society and the way it could impact learning. And it could help me help children to realize, one, equality of opportunity and getting their voice heard, and two, acceptance of diversity. So I embraced this. And this led me to the third phase in my career, which was marked, to begin with a year's study for the European Commission on how technology could change the way children learn in school, in primary school, secondary school, but also in university. I had the great opportunity to work with Jacques Delors at this stage, who wrote the preface of my first book, IT, as we called technology at that stage, a new path to creativity in learning. And there it opened a whole new world. It opened Europe for me. I had a first interaction with Facebook way back in 2012 when I won a grant of $50,000 American dollars for digital citizenship. What would I do? Where would I go? Okay, I set up an online learning course for teachers around the world. And there, surprisingly enough, I won the Google Award. No, I was runner-up for the Google Award. And this says Outstanding Use of Technology for the SMILE project, social media in learning and education. Okay, it's not much, but it's fun to think from a Facebook award, I got a Google Award. So from there, Facebook was interested in me, Google was interested in me.
That's great.